Welcome to Thimbleberry U. I'm your new host, Michelle Odell, and joining me, of course, is Amy Walls. Hello, Amy.
It's good to be talking to you today.
I'm very excited about this. We're going to learn all about Amy today, her background, what she does, and how she can help you in specific ways. First, we want to talk about your background, how you got into financial services in the first place. Was this the type of thing when you were a young kid? I can't wait to be a financial advisor for somebody.
Well, it's funny you ask that because I said I would be a financial advisor until I was about 14 years old. I have never met somebody else who has said that. The real reason, though, is because my dad was a financial advisor. He passed away when I was 6. And I had a little bit of experience, obviously not real world experience, with what he did. That experience really involved dogs, cookies, and fishing. And what I mean by that is back in the day, he saw clients at their homes. Something we don't do today, right? It's
financial house calls. Okay.
Yes. And a lot of his clients were older. And so they didn't have grandkids in the area. And they would say, hey, since you're coming over, bring your kids. Like, we'd love to see them. And they would make us cookies. That was great. Sometimes when they moved out of their houses, we got their dogs. So that was also delightful. And then my dad was an avid fisherman. And so when he didn't have appointments in the morning, he would get me up early. I don't know how my mom agreed to the times he got me up, but he would take me out on the river. We'd fish. And then he'd drop me off at preschool when he needed to get ready to go into the office. So, my view of what he did was pretty phenomenal. Between these relationships and dogs and cookies, and then that time that we got to spend together, at kind of odd times because it was early and it was dark when he'd get me up. But it was really special. And so that's what had me saying that. But fast forward, I realized I don't know what a financial advisor does. Why would I want to do that just because my dad did it? Like, that doesn't make sense. So what happened was in college, I was a double major in 3.5 years. I was a major in sociology and planning, public policy, and management. And I went into nonprofit fundraising. And that was great. But what I found is we spent a lot of time trying to fix things. A lot of times leadership was a little afraid to put some boundaries and bumpers, if you will, on the volunteers. And volunteers drive nonprofit. When you're working in the nonprofit, if the volunteers are taking you off course from what you have the ability to do, that becomes a really sticky situation. And I worked in some really great places and some places where people just wouldn't help steer the volunteers on what was possible and what wasn't. And then there was frustration. Sure. And I looked at that and said, we're not getting to do as much of the work we should be able to do because we're spending so much time trying to fix things and run on this, little treadmill. And so I looked around and said, what do I want to do? Well, my granduncle, who was one of my very favorite people in the whole world, he had been my dad's boss. And he kept saying, hey, Amy, I hired advisors. You need to be an advisor. You need to be an advisor. And I was like, great, Granduncle Dan, I've got this. I've got this figured out. Obviously, I didn't. But, my early 20s, that's a great thing to think. And go me. I've got it. And so what ultimately happened is I did a lot of personality testing and soul searching, and everything I did was telling me I needed to be a financial advisor. I looked at it and said, whoa, this isn't for me. It seems really unstable. I'd be a business owner. That scares me. I like stability a little bit more than that. And so I switched organizations that I worked for and immediately said, yeah, this isn't better. This is actually the same situation again. And a year later, I said, I have to do this. So it had taken me about 2 years to make the switch. I surprised family and friends because I didn't talk about it during that time. I didn't tell people I was considering this. So people thought I kind of came out of left field, but I was doing my research in the background and really sitting with it to get comfortable with it myself. Mm-hmm. So going from nonprofit to financial services is kind of a big leap, I think, in most people's minds. How do you do this? The first thing, it's about the people. In both cases, it's completely about helping the people you're working with. And there is a lot of education that needs to go into it. I am licensed and I now have other credentials that we can talk about. But the licensing exams, the Series 7, the Series 66, those are hard. And so you have to gain a lot of knowledge and education in order to pass those exams.
I'm glad they're hard, because if they were too easy, it could be a disaster for a lot of people.
Absolutely. I think they are very much designed to weed people out of the industry. So I got through that and I started out working for one of the big box firms. I was there for 10 years. I was asked to go into management shortly after starting, and I resisted for a while. I finally realized, I'm going to get a lot more experience. I'm going to have not only my clients, but I'm going to have the clients of all of the advisors that I work with to learn from. And that's great. Well, it wasn't awesome. I wasn't great at it. I enabled them to not take care of their clients. And so I was working, 80 hours a week, taking care of their clients and my clients. And I'd bought my first home. I wanted a dog. My husband said, no way. And I stepped back out of that and got to be with my clients a lot more. I got my dog, had my daughter, and almost immediately went through a divorce. So, just the unexpected happened. And I think, I mentioned my dad died when I was little. I was raised by my mom, who's a very strong person. And then I went through the divorce. Like, those are all things that are just unexpected in life. Nobody wants for those things to happen, but they happen. And so I think one of my philosophies that shapes financial planning and our work with clients is really that we always need to have a smart place to get at money. We need flexibility. I can create the best plan based on the numbers, but one, if it doesn't have flexibility built in, it's not going to work. And two, it also has to fit how you think about money. And a lot of this process is about education. So it may not be how you think about money now, but can we help transition you into a different thought process that will serve you better?
With all that said, Amy, so what's your approach to financial planning and investment management? Because I'm sure it's very specific for every person, every family you work with.
It's a great question because I think a lot of times people assume all financial advisors are the same. And I think that there are some big differences. Most advisors focus first on investment management and look at financial planning as a value add to their investment management. We are the complete opposite of that. Financial planning comes first. In all of our relationships with the clients, we start with a financial plan. We charge for that financial planning, for that advice. Like, we're putting in a lot of time and energy to evaluate and research. And we let that financial plan shape investment strategies, shape cash strategies, shape retirement strategies. And it's not just about the money. What I often equate it to is, Michelle, you have this vision of what you want the rest of your life to look like. You can take that vision and we can stick it on a puzzle. Okay. I'm not an artist that can draw it out. My daughter might be, but, we have this picture now on a puzzle. The puzzle pieces that me and my team work with are your income, what you have saved so far. Is that in retirement accounts? Is it in Roth accounts? Is it in taxable accounts? What's your tax situation today? Based on where you're saved, what's your tax situation tomorrow? What does your housing situation look like, right? These are all puzzle pieces. And so unlike the puzzle at your dining room table, in this puzzle, we can swap pieces in and out. We can suggest shaving pieces down. We can get rid of pieces if they just don't fit in many cases, right? So it's all about taking those pieces to fit them together to make the picture that you want of your life to be as beautiful as it can be. And so really that's strategy. That's what that is. What are the right strategies to improve your situation towards what you want? Once we've aligned on strategies, then we turn our attention to the second body of work that we help our clients with, which is the investment management. In that, we are like a lot of investment money managers. We get compensated very similarly. What I will say is that we really use third-party money managers, though. And the reason for that is me and my team could build portfolios, and I've built some good portfolios. But when you've got whole teams that all they do is this, it would be ego for me to say that we're going to consistently beat them. We're not. So they are going to do better long-term, I believe. And they're keeping their eye 100% on the ball of your investments. And we're making sure that's continuing to happen and it still aligns with your plan and the strategies all make sense. But it also lets us look at all of the other things like, hey, what's going on with your estate plan? We need to talk to your estate planning attorney. We need to be working with your CPA so that you do get this, for lack of a better term, because it is overused, holistic plan.
You're right. That is really the only word to use because it isn't just one stagnant thing. It's all encompassing. It all works together. So I know you're a fiduciary. So what is a fiduciary and why is it important?
Yes. So a fiduciary, by its simplest standard, says that they do what is in your best interest at all times. Now, interestingly, financial services does not have a true fiduciary standard. Okay. I think that's terrible. I'm all for us having a true fiduciary standard. But I am a certified financial planner, which means I have agreed to a fiduciary standard that is higher than what exists in our industry. Okay, so I do what is in clients' best interest. Now, here's where this gets a little confusing and why I think it's really important is that right now, if you go and search about fiduciaries, what you're probably going to see is that fee-only advisors are fiduciaries. Okay, that's generally thought to be the case in the industry. One, fee-only advisors do not have the same level of testing to get into this industry as other advisors, okay? But it does mean that the way they are compensated, they sit on the same side of the table as clients, meaning that when you make more, they make more. When you make less, they make less. And most of our work is done on that side of the world. But when you research this, at least when I've looked it up, what I find is, I think out of simplification, it's black and white. Either people are commission-based or they're fee-only. And that's kind of it. And fee-based and fee-only gets squished together a lot of times. What gets left out is that there's a middle ground, a hybrid that can do both fee-based work and commission-based work. And that is what we are. And now the reason that I like that is there are sometimes an investment that makes sense for a client or an insurance that a client needs, that if I send them out into the big wide world of insurance, are they actually going to come back with what's good for them? Probably not. We have the more holistic view. So our team can actually help implement that. Guess what? That happens on the commission-based side. And it's simply about them getting a better results. So I'm going to say,
you're flexible then with whatever works. You can do either way
yes,
to help that particular family in person.
Yep. And there are some investments that if we were fee only for us to do for clients, we would continue to be compensated on them when they don't need any oversight. So it is actually less expensive for our clients to buy them on the commission-based side and not be paying us for oversight that doesn't need to exist.
So you're able to give the person the best situation for their needs.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, so I can tell, you're very knowledgeable. You've had a lot of schooling. You've jumped through all the hoops. You've done a lot to get to where you are right now, Amy. So you must love it. So what do you love about this work the most?
One, I love the people we work with. Our clients are primarily now come from the tech and healthcare fields. That wasn't always the case. It just seemed to slowly niche in that arena. But I love our clients. I love that we get to choose our clients. We don't have an asset minimum or an income minimum the way a lot of advisors do because of our planning. It's kind of this, can we add enough value to make it worthwhile for you to work with us, given what we cost? And we charge based on complexity.
Okay.
And so we don't know what that costs until the end of our first meeting, but we really only figure that out if we feel like it's a fit. And we want our clients to feel like it's a fit to work with us, and we want to feel like it's a fit to work with them. So that relationship, I think, is so, so, so important. I can't stress that enough. It's like dating. It's like marriage. It's, you're creating a long-term relationship. That's what it should be, and everybody should be entering into it that way. I'm highly process-oriented. So I also love the puzzle piece aspect of this. I love the building of things. How can we make this better? I am very much a person that looks at something and says, well, it might be fine, but how can we break it and make it even better? I drive people crazy with that sometimes. I don't think I drive our clients crazy with it, but, my team, my family, my 15-year-old daughter, our almost 15-year-old daughter, She's like, really? I need to make it better again? It's just how I approach things. How can we break it and make it better?
And that's what a client wants. It's not one size fits all.
There are some guidelines we use in solving a situation. That's what we call it, solving a plan. How to get someone somewhere, like an order of kind of like Maslow's hierarchy that we'll work through. But
yes.
It's not linear. You can't just go step 1, step 2, step 3. Like we're bouncing back and forth constantly because when we do something further up the list, we might blow up something down below. So you constantly have to be looking at the consequences.
Right. It's fluid.
Yes.
So how is it that you have come to have a niche in both of these two areas? How did you get involved with the tech and the healthcare fields?
Yeah, it really happened by accident. And I can't exactly say how it happened. When I started Thimbleberry, which was in 2016, I realized that all of our clients at that point really came from 4 industries. And so that was interesting. But over the last 6 years, it's just been tech and healthcare. All of our new clients really come from referrals at this point. We don't do any other marketing. I do, these podcasts, which I think are fun. And a lot of times I use them more for education with our existing clients than any form of marketing. But yeah, it just word of mouth. And
wow.
Each of those niches has a different set of needs. So we actually have set up service teams within our office so that my team also specializes either in our clients in tech or our clients in healthcare.
You're getting people who are very specifically ready to help these people in their specific fields.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Or we train them for that, right? Very much because tech, there's a lot of equity compensation issues and, stock issues related to employment. There's turnover. And healthcare has different issues, pensions, and there's different questions at retirement as to what may happen, and just a generally different approach to the rest of their lives.
So, Amy, if folks are listening, they want to know more about you, they want to know how maybe you can help them, how do they find you?
Yeah, they can find us online at thimbleberryfinancial.com or by giving us a call at 503-610-6510.
This was very interesting. I learned a lot about you. I really enjoyed this, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Sounds good. We'll talk then.
Registered representative securities offered through Cambridge Research, Inc., a broker-dealer. Member FNIRA, SIPC. Investment advisor representative, Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Thimbleberry Financial are not affiliated.